Ramana Maharshi puts his whole teaching into these 6 verses of Atma Vidya. It starts low, very easy is self-knowledge. I'm Richard Clarke. Listen to these verses and my comments on them.
This week I continue with Atma Vidya, the third of the 5 verses. Atma Vidya is one of several books written by Ramana Maharshi that were initiated by Muruganar. Thank you, Muruganar. Now, verse 3. The thought, I am the body, is the thread on which are strung together various thoughts. Questing within, inquiring, who am I, and whence this thought? All other thoughts vanish. And as I, within the heart cave, the self shines of its own accord. Such self-awareness is the only heaven, this stillness, this abode of bliss. Ramana's verse starts with the thought, I am the body, is the thread on which are strung together various thoughts. This tells one important element in Ramana's teaching, that our mind are formed around the idea, the assumption that we are an individual. It is this idea that grows into our view of who we are, our ego I. What we think is our identity. Then our mind organizes itself around this central idea with ideas of others and a world and maybe a higher power, all in relation to this ego I. Neuroscientists know now that the physical brain organizes and constantly reorganizes itself around what we think and sense and experience. In fact, there are brain areas that generate this sense of being an individual. It's not innate, it takes some special part of the brain. They've scanned people with a deep sense of oneness between themselves and the universe, and found these brain areas to be dormant, inactive. The powerful, the radical thing this practice does is to challenge your sense of individuality, your assumed and built up ideas of who you are, the roles and people and places and things and ideas you identify as somehow elements of who you are. This idea is the deepest idea of the mind. Every other idea is oriented towards this. So when the deepest idea changes, so does everything else. This is the power of self-enquiry. Change how you see yourself, and simultaneously this changes how you see others, the world, and the higher power. The core idea can be called I am an individual. it starts with I am a body. What if this idea is just not true? Thus, self-inquiry is launched. The next sentence, questing within, inquiring, who am I, and whence this thought? All other thoughts vanish. Self-inquiry is the internal investigation into what is the truth about your own identity and existence. As you learn to get quiet and look within yourself, you see there is so much mental activity, so many thoughts and feelings and ideas and memories shaping your experience. Asking, who am I, gives you an organization to this internal investigation. You start to notice that all of these thoughts, why, they are about me. In some way or another, they all relate to me, this ego I. You start looking, seeing that everything and every thought seems to come and go. You look for what does not come and go, what is always there. And you notice there is something. It's not a thing. Maybe it's more like a feeling or a presence, but something that is not a thing, and it is always, always within me. Knowing this, feeling this, being this, the monkey mind, filled with all these thoughts oriented around some seeming individual, gets very quiet. Neurologists actually see this when what they call the default mode network shuts off. This brain network is where all these self-referential thoughts come from. It is the monkey mind. It stops during meditation, and with enough meditation, it stops for good. I've heard this described as, I stopped thinking. Then Ramana says, and as I, within the heart cave, the self shines on its own accord. In the now quiet mind, there is still this knowing that is existence, consciousness, but with no object. Buddhists say empty, but not void. Ramana called it the substratum. From the standpoint of the world and all else, they are built on this substratum. He also called it the heart, not the physical heart, but where being, consciousness, and bliss rise from and are known only by knowing that they are. Finally, he says, from such self-awareness is the only heaven, this stillness, this abode of bliss. Bliss is our nature. When we get something we desire and are then happy, It's because of the cloud of desire that obscured our nature, which is happiness itself. This cloud cleared away for a bit, and we feel the happiness that we are. When you start to notice that this happiness really comes from within, you start looking there instead of from things and from people. Then you discover something that might seem odd, that instead of more things to make you happy, that less is more, that silence brings more happiness than lots of activity. All that it takes to be in the abode of bliss is to be quiet within yourself.
These videos help bring Ramana Maharshi's teachings into your direct experience. Subscribe now to help you deepen your understanding and practice to know the self. Just click the subscribe button.